Welcome to episode 18 of Jacksonville Momcast. Today, our guest is Melody Coarsey. Melody is a Jacksonville mom and the owner of Melody Coarsey Photography. In this episode, we chat with Melody about her love of photographing children and families, how COVID-19 has impacted some parts of her business, and tips for fellow moms to get good pictures of your little ones. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the Jacksonville Momcast, a podcast dedicated to real stories for real parents. Each episode, we'll chat with local Jacksonville moms and cover topics to help you navigate mom life on the First Coast. Thanks for joining us as we tackle all things motherhood and more with a focus on the 904. Today we have Melody Coarsey with Melody Coarsey Photography. And Melody, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
I am a graduate actually of Jacksonville University. I'd say the year, but it ages me so bad. I have two daughters, ages actually almost 14. And then my youngest just turned 12. So they are actually in 7th and 8th grade. I did go to college around here. And then my husband and I, after he graduated from UF, moved out West Florida a little bit. And then we ended up coming back in 2016 to the area and have loved it since.
And then tell us a little bit about your photography business.
So I specialize in, I say all stages of motherhood. So maternity, newborn, and families. I do also do senior portraits, which I do enjoy because they're fun. I don't do weddings. Not my jam. I like the babies. I love maternity sessions. I'm all for all of that.
And so how did you get started in photography?
So, I mean, I guess it's kind of like a lot of people. I've always had an art background, just from painting and drawing as a child to I actually took ad design and whatnot in college. Got a camera with my second child when she was a baby. And then just play because I wanted to be able to take good photos of my children. I took the camera everywhere, took photos of other people's children. People told me I should start a business. I thought, it's your kid. You love it because it's your kid. It's not that I'm actually talented, until a couple other photographers that had been in the business a while that I was friends with said, no, you actually have a natural ability for composition and whatnot to be able to do this. Look into it, and whatnot. And so that was about 2012. And that's when I started diving in to all of it, manual editing, all the things.
And so you mentioned that you like doing families, kids, babies, etc. What's your favorite of all of that?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I don't know. I am totally one of those people where my most recent session is always my favorite session. I mean, I love newborns. I really do. I'm hoping to be able to do Fresh 48 sessions again at some point. They'll let people back in the hospitals. I mean, maternity and newborns probably just because that is such like a monumental time. But I love families too. I love families that are willing to play and have fun and relax. Let the toddler be a toddler and enjoy it instead of being stressed about it. And it just makes, for beautiful memories. I try and capture what I would want for my family.
I think that's such a good philosophy as a mom. What you mentioned not being able to be in the hospital. So, we're what feels like 10,000 years into this.
Right.
How has your newborn service that you offer changed in the last 18 months since COVID impacted us?
I do lifestyle. So I go into clients' homes. I also do outdoor. Actually, that's two things. So one, outdoor newborn sessions became a thing for me. For people that didn't feel comfortable allowing me in their home, which I totally understand, we started doing it outside. And, it would be an entire session where I didn't even touch the baby. I could just prompt them on what to do and posing, all of that, at a pretty location. And usually we had a way to have the baby to get some individual shots of just the baby, but those ended up turning into just beautiful sessions. And I thought, wow, I should do this, permanently. So I added it permanently as an option for people. Lifestyle sessions in the home. Obviously I wear a mask because Well, now it's just any germs, period. I realize from now on, I should probably just wear masks for newborn sessions because you never know what germs you have, whether it's just a cold or who knows, but it's worse for them. If the family wants me to pose the baby and whatnot, obviously it's like, wash hands and same amount of sanitizer and everything else, to do it safely. I pretty much leave it up to the families. If they're still like, hey, yeah, we want photos, but we don't want you to touch, the baby, I'm like, that's fine. And I'll just prompt them and, capture images like that, which is kind of a benefit of lifestyle, is because I can just tell them how to sit and how to hold the baby and get photos without me actually having to do anything to touch the baby if they're not comfortable with it.
And what a great option for families that are still trying to, keep their little ones safe and then still get pictures.
Right.
And so you mentioned, doing lifestyles in people's homes and outside their homes. What are some of your other favorite locations around Jacksonville for family pictures?
So I think people realize how many pretty places we have around here, or maybe they don't. Obviously, like, we have a Driftwood Beach, Boneyard Beach up at Big Talbot is beautiful. Just the normal beaches and Atlantic Beach and everything is beautiful. The preserves in Guana with the large dunes. Obviously, Camp Milton is really pretty if you haven't been out there. But almost any of the state parks, you could do it, and it's beautiful. Washington Oaks Gardens is popular, even though it's a little bit of a drive. And actually, the Ravine Garden State Park in Palatka is a gorgeous location, and you wouldn't know it because it's across the street from a high school. So you wouldn't think it was pretty until you get in there.
And it's beautiful. I think the azaleas bloom in February-ish. It's a nice, it's a beautiful location.
I need to go back in February because I just went for the first time this summer and I was like, what is this magical place?
Yeah, it's a gorgeous location. And they have, for listeners who don't know, they have suspension bridges. And so there's all sorts of cool trails and bridges and gardens. And it is a beautiful park. So let's talk about, I'm a mom and I'm getting pictures taken with my kids who are sometimes less than cooperative. And so what do you recommend for parents who are just to kind of like set parents at ease? People invest a lot of money in photo packages and a lot of time goes into choosing the right outfit and then to just show up with like a ornery toddler or teenager. What do you recommend, or what are some tips you have to kind of take that pressure off and just make the experience a little bit better for everybody involved?
So obviously with toddlers and younger children, I tell parents, I'm like, play. The more relaxed you are, the more relaxed they are. If you are super nervous and tense and immediately like frustrated, the kids feel that and they tend to actually behave worse. If you relax and you play, and truly a good photographer, if you're just relaxing and playing and loving on your kids, you will get beautiful images from that. Even if it's not the everyone sit and smile and look at the camera photo, you will get beautiful images. And most photographers I know, I tell my clients, like, if I have your toddler and they're laughing at me, I'll be like, hey, everybody look. And I'll get that photo where everyone's looking because I have the toddler. But a lot of people's favorite images aren't necessarily the ones where everyone's staring at the camera and smiling. It's actually the other stuff that's just who your kid is and their natural smiles and all of that at the session. Teenagers and stuff, they can be bribed. They're a little easier. Mine have child of a photographer syndrome. Like, they aren't fans of photos. Well, my youngest kind of is. My oldest is not. So there's like, hey, you'll get Starbucks if you do it, and whatevs.
Yeah, but I have the same situation. My youngest still can hang in there, and my oldest is kind of like was done 3 days ago. And I do find with older kids, I can sometimes be like, the quicker you cooperate, the quicker we're done. And they understand that, they're old enough to process that and be like, if I smile and don't act like a grumpy whatever, we can be done with this and not drag it out any longer than it absolutely has to be.
Yeah. And I actually, obviously I talk a lot. And so I talk a lot to the teenagers. And I find that the more I talk to them and the more I talk to them about like, oh, this movie, whatever, the more relaxed they are and the more they'll just, relax and smile and do what needs to be done. to do it for mom. I tell them, I'm like, you're doing it for mom.
Absolutely. And so talk to me a little bit about your senior pictures you just have started doing. How is that different than, the family dynamic? It's even different than really like, I feel like by the time they get to be seniors in high school, you're almost past that, weird teenage years. But how has that been different for you?
I mean, for me, it's almost more relaxed because it really is just me talking and hanging out with the senior. And then the more I know about them, before, like I send out questionnaires and whatnot, the better I can choose a location and everything else around that. If they don't already have like a location they want to do in mind. And the more relaxed I am, the more I talk to them, the more we hang out, like the more they get into it. I mean, my couple most recent senior sessions I've done, they were both went home and were like, that wasn't horrible. That was kind of fun. All right. I'm good with that. That's okay. Because it's just, you have to let them be themselves and then just tweak it. Like, I'll be like, all right, how would you stand? And they stand. I'm like, okay, now switch it to this. Now we're good. And it's a good photo. Or, I do movement, walking, all that kind of stuff. Try and getting them to laugh. My last senior girl was saying that she liked the masks because she didn't like everybody seeing her entire face because she just could hide. She's an introvert. And so I had her yelling, I love masks or whatever. And she would just die laughing. And then the picture of her laughing was just like a beautiful image when I was having her yell, I want ice cream or whatever at the moment before that.
That's awesome. It sounds like they're a lot of fun.
They are, and they're pretty chill. I mean, obviously girls are a little more into it than boys, but it makes it less stressful. Like with toddlers, you like have to work for that smile. With older kids, you don't. You just got to work for the natural smile.
Yes. And the getting them to relax, I think, is key.
Yeah.
With the holidays coming up, families will be gathering. Do you have any tips for moms that just want some, halfway decent casual pictures at Thanksgiving and Christmas? I know that, you invest in like a professional photo session. I mean, maybe once a year, maybe every other year, maybe only at major milestones, but I think everybody wants just, something where people aren't picking their nose at Thanksgiving.
I mean, you get people picking their nose at family photos. Lots of toddlers. So to me, like even when I'm trying to take photos at Thanksgiving and Christmas and whatnot, especially when I remember to do it, because sometimes I forget, you have to look for the moments and the details. So like, yes, your kids, like prepare for your kids' reaction to seeing Christmas morning more than the photo of the present. Like get them walking into the room, get that reaction. And then, when they open it and they see it, get that reaction. Like the little things that you want to remember. Like I always used to capture, my girls walking in because they had like the excited faces on and all this. Thanksgiving and whatnot, especially if you have a lot of family around, especially if you have multiple generations. I'm big on, if grandma's holding the, your kid or a hug, like natural moments, even if you have to set them up a little bit, but if you're kind of looking for it, you can find it and just snap a photo real fast, even with your phone or whatever. Because those are the things you look back on, is the little moment things. I mean, you can take the everybody look at the camera and smile picture, but like the ones that you love are the like natural expressions, the natural moments and memories that they trigger.
Those are some good tips. So if I'm a mom in Jacksonville and I'm looking to hire a professional photographer, what are some tips you have for, starting out your search?
So, I mean, obviously Google's amazing, but you have to know what you're looking for. So if you think, oh, I like light and airy, and those are the kind of photos you tend to like more when you see other people's photos, then you want a photographer whose website shows light and airy photos. Because if it's not showing the light and airy photos, that's just not their style. So approaching them and saying, hey, and then saying, but I want this, that's not how they do things. You may not be as happy with the photos because that's not how they normally do it. You have to know, do you want light and airy? Do you want, more bold and colorful? Do you want more candid moments? Do you want more posed things? You know, especially with newborns. If you want all posed newborns, then you need to go to a photographer that specializes in that because they do it amazingly. If you want more lifestyle, then you go to a photographer that does that often because they do that well. Just know what you want from the session. Obviously, budget plays a part. Sorry. Budget plays a part in your decision making. So if you pick 3 or 4 photographers that you like their style and you like the work that they have, then yes, look at who fits your budget. Obviously, photographers, you know, have to price themselves because they have other expenses. The equipment, the editing software, the website hosting, you know, all the things that come together, taxes, all the things that they have to pay for. So everybody's priced differently because everybody's expenses are different. And obviously how long they've been in. I mean, if you're looking for super, let's say affordable, you're going to have a more starting out photographer. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. But look at the work they've put out. Don't expect them to be starting out, but have the same quality as somebody that's been doing it for 5, 6, 7 years.
Those are good tips. And they're definitely, I agree with looking through their website. And I think there are some newer photographers that are phenomenal and a good, you know, you'll find someone who's a good fit with the style you're looking for.
Right.
Or at a slightly lower price point, as opposed to someone who has, you know, a huge following, who's been doing it for 10, 12, 15 years.
Right.
You know, they can charge a premium because they've built up a customer base. And so they can do that.
Correct.
So do you hire a family photographer when you're looking for a family photographer?
So I am a bit of a hypocrite most years. I preach, be in the photo, take the photos. Your kids need those memories. And then I am almost always the one behind the camera. Periodically, I will set up a tripod and run in and get photos. So when we first moved here in 2016, I did have a photographer friend do our family photos, actually at the Beaches Historical Society Museum, I guess. My husband's related to the family that built the cottage that they brought in there. Anyway, so we did photos there because of the family history of it all. And she came and did those. I had not paid for a photographer since then, but I am this year. I finally went, I need to do this. And I contacted a friend and I said, are you available one of these 2 dates that I can do it? And she was, so we made it work. Granted, it's awesome. Next weekend, so I have to plan super fast, but we'll get it done.
Sometimes I think it's better though to do a quick turnaround and then you can't even overthink it. You're just we're doing it and this is what we're wearing and everybody get together.
Yeah, that's probably what's happening is that I'm like, all right, let's do it.
So let's talk about what families should wear for their family photos.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a lot of options. You can always do more matchy and you can always do more kind of complementary. What do you recommend? And do you have any favorite styles or colors to work with? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay. So I'm not a fan of matchy. Just going to throw that out there. I'm not. I am definitely a complementary color kind of person. And really what colors you wear depends on both your location as well a little bit as the season. Today is the first day of fall, but it's Florida. So yes, I would say pick fall colors. Like my family, we're picking fall colors, our color scheme. I already know what colors everybody's wearing, but everything is short sleeved. Nothing is long sleeved. I am fully aware we will probably sweat still, even in October. So I say, especially for fall, plan to use colors that if you really want fall, use fall colors, but plan to be warm and then maybe throw in a jean jacket or a complimentary sweater or something if it is a little cooler, because it might be depending on when your session is, especially if it's in November. But I wouldn't plan for boots and scarves and sweaters because it's Florida and your whole family will sweat.
Yeah, I think comfort is so important, especially with kids.
Yeah.
Because
I always say you don't have to completely change your family style to do family photos. If you are a more laid back family, stay laid back. My girls, like the outfits I'm making them wear, one is basically the same romp. Like she already has this black dress or whatever that she likes. And I'm like, hey, if I buy that in mustard yellow, will you wear it? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, sweet. There you go. Now you're in my color scheme, but it's still something you would wear. And I'm not fighting with you. My youngest has this other dress that she got from a boutique here in town that she loves. And I'm like, okay, well, can I get a similar style, but like just plain, navy? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So I'm letting them keep their style and the things they like, but I'm making it match what I want it to look like.
And we always, when we pick our outfits, I always start with the most difficult family member.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do them first. And then I feel like, my husband will wear basically whatever I tell him, whatever color button down shirt. So like he's easy. So he comes in at the end with whatever I need to kind of use as a complementary color. But I always start with typically my daughter and let her kind of not set the tone, but I always choose her outfit first because she's the most opinionated on
what she wears,
what's going on here. So
yeah,
I think comfort.
And in reality, especially for small boys, like I know the boy dress code is basketball shorts and a t-shirt. Like you can find like khaki comfortable cotton shorts and get a just plain colored t-shirt and they're still comfortable, but they look better in photos than, the more laid back style. And it's easy to make little switches like that. Definitely avoid a ton of patterns. If one person's in a pattern, that's fine, but don't have someone in a mom in a floral dress, dad in plaid, and daughter in polka dots. Like that's just a lot going on. Truly the more neutral or the less patterns you have, probably the better it looks. Even if you're doing, like we're doing multiple colors, but nobody has patterns on.
Smart. Those are good tips. So you recently started working with a drone and we'll put a link in our show notes to your website and to your Instagram. I am completely obsessed with the drone pictures. Talk to us a little bit about what made you decide to start adding that in? And then how has it been basically learning how to use a new piece of equipment for your business?
So getting it, I've always kind of talked about wanting one. And then I think my husband found one on a really good sale and he got it. So that's how I ended up with a drone. And then I had to find out what all you need to do, because you do have to register all drones, no matter the weight or size, with the FAA. But it's like $5, for a 3-year registration and everything else. There's specific apps you have to use to find out whether you can or cannot fly in specific places. Like Volano Beach lately is under, it says controlled airspace on the app, but that actually means that you can apply to the FAA to say, hey, I want to fly a drone in this small area, less than 100 feet for 2 hours or an hour. And they'll like say yay or nay to you. And if they say yay, they just send you an email and everything saying that you have approval in case for some reason somebody asks. But I think it's more because as soon as your drone goes up, the FAA can see it. So they know this person asked permission, they're fine. Obviously, if you're near an airport, if you're near we have the military bases, if you're near any of those, you can't fly. State parks, you cannot fly. So I can't fly a drone at Big Talbot. I can't fly a drone at Washington Oaks. I can't fly a drone at Ravine Gardens. You can't fly a drone anywhere that's a state or national park. So I'm not sure I could fly it in downtown St. Augustine. I haven't looked. Maybe I could south of the bridge, but I know you can't near Castillo, the fort, because it's a national park. So like those are the kind of rules you have to kind of look into to know whether or not you can fly it. And then if I can, I do, and I set it up, and then I just have to edit people out. Today I'll be working on some drone pictures I took Sunday night in actually downtown Atlantic Beach. It was completely packed, so I'll be editing a ton of people out. It's what it is.
It is. And I'm glad you mentioned being aware of where you're flying your drone, because I was going to say, being in a military town, there are a lot of areas where you think you can fly a drone around Jacksonville and you cannot once you pull up the app.
You cannot fly downtown.
And there's a lot up, when you get up north near Mayport, you have to be real careful of the military bases. So what's your favorite thing about being a mom in Jacksonville?
All the things to do. I mean, we're so close to so much. I love all the beaches. My kids are a little older. My oldest is not a fan of the beach, but even like all the state parks near us, all the springs. We went to a couple springs this summer and, did the floats, which was amazing. We're not far from so much. I mean, being able to hop up to Jekyll Island and, go to the water park or stay for the weekend. We're even not far from Savannah. Like there's just, obviously Orlando. We're not big theme park people though, but like there's just so much to do within a 2 hour or so drive that you're like, we could do this, whether it's a day trip or a weekend or whatever, where you don't feel I have to drive 8 hours to go do something.
I think that's also one of my favorite things about Jacksonville, having everything so close. So
it feels like everything's close.
It is. It's easy access to a lot. There's a lot to do in this area and not that far. Like there's a lot to do that's not that far.
Right.
Before we close out, if you've given a lot of information about, booking, what to wear, how far in advance should people plan to book their family photos? And also along with that, what are the busy times of year for photographers?
So any photographer that does family photos, fall is what all photographers will refer to as family portrait season. It is basically like our version of tax season. I make all my family in July, say if they want me to do anything in the fall, where am I present? How much do I have to not be able to work? Like, what are you expecting of me for their birthdays and whatnot? So that I know that it's a lot. I'm not going to be around a lot. I'm going to have a lot of work to do. Like, if you want me present, let me know in advance. Most photographers, I think all photographers in the area are booking now. Some are already even booked, I've noticed. So truthfully, if you are wanting photos in October or November, even beginning of December, you need to contact that person quickly because there is limited availability. And whether or not they have like mini events, because a lot of photographers will do minis at Christmas where it has like Christmas props and whatnot. Even that, like those usually book up quickly for a lot of photographers. So you need to find out, do they still have availability? I started booking in August for fall. Yeah.
Those are some good things for people to take into consideration. So if you're listening to this and you want fall pictures and you have not booked them yet, you need to get on it.
Yeah. I mean, no matter who your photographer is, like reach out to them as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Melody. We will put links to Melody's website and Instagram account and some of the actual locations we talked about today in the show notes. As always, if you enjoyed this show, we appreciate you giving feedback and a review on wherever you get your podcasts. And lastly, Jacksonville Momcast is now on Patreon. So we will put a link in the show notes to our Patreon, and we have it set up. So if you'd like to support the show, you can do that.
That's it for today. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Jacksonville Momcast. For more information about what you've just heard, check out our show notes and find us on Instagram at Jacksonville Momcast. If you've enjoyed this episode and know someone who should tune in, please subscribe and share it. We look forward to you joining us on our next episode of Jacksonville Momcast.